We are now back in session. We're going to skip about a little bit. We're going down to, let me find it. Under new business, item number 3, motion to approve Honeybee Day in Wayne County proclamation. If y'all would come forward, if you've got a presentation, please state your names and addresses.
Buddy Scott, 234B Sand Hill Drive, Goldsboro, North Carolina, 919-394-2024.
Zane Moore, 193 Sand Hill Drive, North Carolina. Phone number 919-920-2351.
Okay.
We are members of the Beekeepers of the Neuse, so a bee club here in Wayne County. We have a little over 100 members. They're all pretty active. We're striving to educate the public about the bees, the honeybees. Most people don't know that 1/3 of the food that you eat is pollinated by a honeybee. The last couple of years, we've had a 42% loss of the honeybees due to cold weather, mismanagement, pesticides, herbicides, and we need to educate the people about these needs. We're having National Honeybee Day celebration this coming Saturday, August the 22nd, from 9 o'clock till 3 o'clock, or as long as people will attend. We invite all of y'all to come and participate, see what we do. We'll be glad to have you.
It's going to be where?
Waynesboro Park.
Waynesboro Park. You have any comments, young man?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll comment for him.
Okay.
This is Zane Moore, my grandson. He is a certified beekeeper. He has passed the written test and the practical test issued by the state of North Carolina. So it doesn't matter what your age, you can become a beekeeper.
Okay. Thank y'all. Any questions?
If I could just overcome my fear of bees.
It's a psychological thing.
Not when well, wait a minute. Let's not bring up psychological.
Let me first say thank you all for what you do, because we realize the great role that bees play in our food production and all that. Question though, I have a situation where I have an older building. It's an old garage behind a real piece of property, and periodically the lady wants me to come over and kill some bees. I don't do it. I mean, I don't go and actively kill bees or spray for them, because I tell her, I say, you know, this is pollination and all that. But is there any safe way to make them leave without killing them? That's really the question.
Yeah. There's several different ways. If it's a swarm that had just collected there, usually it's in the spring, but it can go through the summer where the hive splits and moves off. We can collect those bees. If they have made a hive in a building or a tree or whatever and you want them out, we can remove them that way.
These are big, not honeybees. They're big. I mean, they're big. What we call bumblebees. The big
Carpenter bees or bumblebees.
big ones.
Right.
And it's not. I would say the most I've ever seen around the building maybe 10 or 12. And so I don't know whether that was considered a hive or just a.
It's probably not a hive, but they also pollinate flowers and
Yeah.
fruits. So I wouldn't kill them.
No, thanks, sir.
Normally, if you don't bother them, they won't bother you.
That's what I always tell folks.
Just got
Joe.
a call
excluded from that.
a few years ago when I was in my old job. We were down here on William Street, and people came running in the door and said, "Man, y'all got a problem out there." I said, "What do you mean?" And a hive like you were speaking of was out there at the edge of the street, right on the sidewalk, and then it flew up and got in a tree in the parking lot. And then I called animal control; they didn't know, and I called the city, said, "Ain't up to us." And so finally, I was able to get hold of a guy who was a beekeeper. And he came out there, and it was amazing. And, you know, I got a fear of a hive of bees, too, you know. He said, "No, it ain't going to hurt you. Walk right over here. You can walk out there, and there were thousands of them, none would sting you." And he got every one of those bees. and took them away. Except for, he called the hobo bees, he said it would come back later. But I thought it was interesting. I just never seen that done before. So there are people, if you get a hive, you can call these folks and they'll come get the bees. Because
I was kind of disappointed in the news last couple of nights, though, for Channel 5 let Lenore County beat you to putting them on top of their building. I mean, well, y'all got to be a little more proactive now, because you can't let Lenore County be stealing your thunder.
We'll do better.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's a proclamation I need to.
Yes, sir.
I guess I'll go ahead and do that. Whereas the honeybee is critical to the process of pollination, with 1 bite of food in 3 benefiting directly from the honeybee population, and whereas honeybees are essential for production of more than 90 food crops, and bee pollination is responsible for 15 billion in added crop value, and whereas honeybees face a significant threat from colony collapse disaster, which has been linked with disease, pathogens, parasites, environmental stress, loss of natural habitat, and appropriate use of pesticides, herbicides, among other factors, and whereas the honeybee works together with other bees in the bee colony as a single, vibrant, living organism that helps to maintain healthy ecosystem, and whereas the U.S. Department of Agriculture is working in cooperation with federal agencies, universities, industry, and additional partners to find ways to improve honeybee health and habitat, and whereas the Beekeepers of the News will celebrate National Honeybee Day on Saturday, August 22nd, 2015, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Waynesboro Park, and invite everyone to join the activities, including an observation hive containing bees, equipment for beekeeping, live music, honey sales, master gardeners, beekeeping information, activities for children, farm equipment, and food for sale. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim Saturday, August the 22nd, 2015 as Honeybee Day in Wayne County, to call awareness of the honeybee and its importance to agriculture, the food system, and economy. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners does hereby encourage the people of Wayne County to celebrate the honeybee and its many contributions with appropriate observances and activities adopted this 18th day, August 2015. And that is in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? If none, all in favor show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Joe.
Good seeing you, buddy. It's been a long time.
Okay, let's go back up to the appointment committee. Mr. Gurley?
Yes, we have one. The appointment committee would like to recommend the appointment of Charles Brogdon to the Eastern Carolina Workforce Development Board, and I'd like to put that in form of a motion.
I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor of Mr. Gurley's motion, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gurley. We have no unfinished business. Consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of a consent agenda.
I have a motion on the floor that we adopt the consent agenda. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor show sign of right hand. Motion carries. New business. First item, Mr. Wood, if you and Mr. Allen would take care of that, please.
You have a resolution accepting the tax settlement with the Wayne County Tax Administrator. This is from July 14 to June 30th, 2015. Alan, if you'll go through the details, please.
Yes, sir. Be glad to. Good morning again.
Good morning.
Oh, should we have to look through that? As you see on the board, this is a requirement by North Carolina General Statute 105373 that I, as a tax collector, must make a report of settlement for the fiscal year 2014-15 and prior years. Basically, it's just a snapshot date as of June 30th of where we ended up the tax year with our collections and revenues and stuff like that. The settlement must be accepted before the tax collector may be charged with the next tax levy. So we got this as some unfinished business. We take care of this, and you tell me to go do my job again and collect some more money. The settlement must provide a report of diligent efforts to collect unpaid taxes. And I would like to take a moment just to thank Ms. Tammy Peel in our office. She's our number cruncher. She compiled all these numbers for us. She works very close with Pam and Finance and also the auditors during this time of year to audit our records and everything. I would like to report to you that we had a very good tax year. Sometimes that's a double-edged sword. Some people say, well, yuck, that's not a good thing, but it is a good thing in the county to have. I would like to point out to you, first of all, down below the colored cells, our collection percentage. Mr. Wood hit on this previously. We had a 97.96 collection rate at the end of June 30th. That is the best we have done in, I can remember. I have a 10-year history here. Highest we've had before was in 2008, before the crash, and we had 97.32 that year. So this is very good. I think this is twofold. I would like to give a lot of credit to my staff. They've done a great job going after delinquent taxes, collecting taxes, being in touch with taxpayers, explaining to them what needs to be done. Also, with the vehicle tax being taken away the way we used to do it in arrears, this is now done at the tag agency. You get your car inspected, you get your renewal form, you go down and pay your taxes, you get your sticker. So you're paying ahead of time versus 3 months in arrears like we used to do. That has helped tremendously in our collection percentage. So those two factors I can attribute to, again, the staff, and the vehicles change has attributed this tremendously. Just to go over these numbers briefly, you can see our property valuation. It's just topped over $7 billion in property value. This is our annual billing, real personal, and also what little bit of vehicles we had. If you move over to the right column, you see we only had $3,400 billed in taxes in our old system. Those were some that probably fell through the cracks, that they had a timing issue between the old system and new system. So that's a very little bit we build on. And sometimes people, we have seen a new trend, they will ride with their old sticker for a while, and sometimes up to a year. And when they go to DMV to get their tag, DMV cannot bill in arrears. So it's up to us to pick up that year they missed. When they go to DMV, they're paying for this point forward for the upcoming year. So if they do miss a year and happen to ride around illegally and don't get caught, we have to go back and bill them for that and collect it in our old way, the way we used to collect those. So that's takes that into consideration. Well, that's the little bit of money we may see right there.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Let me get this straight.
Sure.
If I don't pay my taxes and I can ride around for a year and get by with it without anybody catching me, then I can renew it the second year. They will not collect any taxes in arrears.
They will not know, sir.
They will not.
That's up to us as a county. We actually do that.
Do they notify you of that?
We have a report, yeah. It's called a gap billing report. We can run that.
But the club's not there any longer. If they've got a renewal of the tag, there's no incentive for them to pay the past due taxes. Is that correct?
Correct. Used to in the past, what we used to do, our only saving grace per se was we were paying in arrears, but we could put a block on the vehicle. We could block the tag from renewal for the next time. So in other words, if we send you a bill, you get your tag, we send you a bill, you didn't pay it, the next time you get ready to renew, there was a block at DMV, they would not accept payment until you came and paid us. That was only saving grace back under the old system.
But they took that away.
When the new system came, that's gone away, yes, sir. But we still have our collection remedies. If we find these out, we bill those, we have our garnishments, we have our enforcement collections, we can still use all of those to collect these taxes.
Well, it might be something we need to address from the legislative to re-implement that where you could block them. So they'd have to pay you first, settle up from past due before they renew their license.
Well, it took them multiple years to develop the software they got.
Okay.
And again,
I don't mean to be smart aleck, but I'm almost afraid to ask the state to mess with it.
Okay, all right.
Because it's working too good right now.
But your point's well made. I mean, that should be an easy program fix. It really should.
And again, if you look at the dollars over here on the far right side, it's $3,400. It's not a lot of money in the big scheme of things, but it is an issue that people, if there's a loophole, I guarantee you people will find it. And there is that. We try to close that loophole with billing through our system.
Okay. Let's hope they're not listening today.
Well, if they are, we're going to get them. So I mean, we're there, so we'll do what we have to do.
Under the new concept, you will not be able to drive your car if you don't pay you.
Well, you can drive as long as you don't get caught.
It's like, you can drive, but you're taking a chance because you can get stopped and be fined, plus have to pay the taxes and penalties and stuff too. So you're taking a chance by not doing that, yes, sir. You sure are. Our levy, if you'll come down to the green column, that was our net levy, was $47,172,685. We had, as of June 30th, our uncollected amount was $962,878. And that's how we would arrive at our 97.96 collection rate. It was, like, again, I reiterate, between our staff and the vehicles going away, they've done a great job this year. Very, very good job. Very pleased with that. We'll flip to the next screen. This is basically the same information, just given out a little bit different. Sort of breaks down your real estate, our annual billing, our motor vehicles, which again you see is the $3,400, and our combined total. And again, gives you our 97.96% collection. Our interest collected at the bottom, year to date, is $105,796.62. $11 on vehicles. So that's our, basically, like I said, our same information. Flip over to the next one. This is our delinquent collections. And if you notice, it says 2005 to 2013. By law, we can use enforced collections to collect taxes up to 10 years old. Beyond that, we are not allowed to use enforced collections. Now, if you want to walk in and pay it, we're not going to turn your money away. But by that point, usually they're no longer here, or they had bankruptcy, or it's just various reasons why it hadn't been paid. I would like to take just a second to let you know what's coming up in the future on this particular topic. In the past, before we went to our new system in 2003, we had a practice, which is pretty much a statewide practice, I think. Not many counties hold on to their older than 10-year levy. We would actually write off taxes. Just like if you, in your business, if you write off money, uncollectible money each year. We did that prior to 2003. Each year we write that 11th year off, and it would be audited and everything. Since 2003, this current software we're on right now did not allow the write-off. So we've just been holding that money out there. We have money on the books since 1994, I think it is. So we are changing software, as you all know. Thank you for approving that. We are in the process of doing that. We're training. We're getting everything up to speed right now. Our go-live date right now is November 16th. We did bill on our old system. We'll be converting in November into our new system. The new system allows us to write these old taxes off, which I would greatly appreciate if you would consider that, because it is a hindrance when we're searching for our legitimate delinquents. Those other ones get really mixed up in there. It's very confusing to our staff trying to distinguish what is and what isn't. So I will be coming to you later on in the year to hopefully write those old taxes off and start making that an annual process each year during what we're doing right now.
Alan, please tell us that you're running the old system and the new system together.
I am running both systems, yes, sir.
Thank you.
And I was very adamant. I was being pushed a little bit to go ahead and convert as soon as possible, because it is a pain, because we're on an old Explorer browser, a computer browser.
Right.
But I was adamant that we build on our old system because I knew it worked, and it worked the last 10 years. I knew it was going to work again, so I was adamant about doing that, and then convert once we got the bills out. So I tried to make it as painless as possible. And the good thing is, this new system, it's not a brand new system, it's an enhancement of our existing system. It's a new version. It does have some differences, but it's not going to be as painless as painful as going to a full-blown new system. So we try to do everything we could to make it as seamless as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Just an aside, I would endorse cutting them off at 10 years. That's what I'm used to as well. And I think it's a cleaner process. Frankly, if we haven't collected in 10 years, the likelihood is we're not going to collect it, because we will have done everything we can do at that point. And a lot of them are properties like old motor vehicles where it's probably not even in the county anymore.
Correct. The vehicle or the person is not in the county anymore in most cases. Prior year taxes, we started out as of July 1st last year with $4 million on the real estate side outstanding. We ended up with a $2.5 million, so we collected that difference during the year. Motor vehicles, you can see we started out with 1.8. We're down to 1.4 on that for the past 2005 to 13. And combined, you see the total combined figures there. So we're working diligently on that and trying to collect those taxes, and we will continue to do that for the 10 years older. Our next screen, this is our new vehicle tax system. This is one we're really proud of, and like Mr. Wood said, I still am amazed. This went into effect September 2013. I'm amazed at the fact that we had 3 government agencies, Department of Revenue, Department of Motor Vehicles, and the tag offices, everybody. We had 100 counties, and these agencies come together and made a statewide system that we should be very proud of. It took about a year and a half, 2 years in the making as far as the software to be written. This has been in the works for probably 10 years, trying to get something like this in place. They went to another state that did this, they learned, and again, to bring all this together and make it work, it was a great thing. And it's fair. You go get your car inspected, you pay your taxes, you get your renewal. It's a very fair system, I feel, a whole lot fairer than what we've had in the past. And in turn, it has made our collection percentage very high, much higher. You'll see on this, it shows 97.42%. In actuality, it's probably closer to 98.5%. The only gap we have in this is when you buy a new vehicle, you have a choice of paying your taxes then, or you can wait up to 60 days to pay your taxes. You get what's called a temporary sticker, it's a T-sticker, and you can actually wait up to 60 days to pay that. A lot of car dealerships choose not to deal with the property tax issue right at the time they're selling the vehicle, so it's up to the owner to, once they get their car up to 60 days, they can go pay their taxes at any time within that time frame, which it still works good. It's just it leaves a lapse in the money right there. It's not all right in hand the day they buy the vehicle. If it's a renewal, it's a done deal. I mean, they pay before they get their sticker. Those are called LRPs, limited registration plates, and you may see some of those around. You'll see it's a regular plate, but in the corner where you have your the year sticker, it's a big orange T. So the patrol officers can see those very, very readily if they're riding around with those. They can check those in their system to see if they're past their 60-day deadline on those. So this is a great system. You can see we basically collected almost $5.8 million. We have a registered vehicles in Wayne County of 106,075. Any question on the vehicle system?
One question.
Yes, sir.
In the event an officer stops a car, runs a tag, it shows no insurance, would it show no tax being paid on it?
I'm trying to think as far as at any kind of flag. If they have a valid sticker, the taxes will be paid. So if their sticker is out of date, then know that there'll be a red flag saying they hadn't renewed nor paid their taxes.
So would the officer then take some action for that part, or?
I can't speak for law enforcement. Larry's not here, but I'm not sure. I'm sure they have the right to take. They can pull the tag. They can actually pull the tag, or they can write a citation. Definitely. So it's definitely a big red flag if they see that expiration that's out of date. And that's one of the very first things they check, I think, along with the insurance lapse.
And I might be wrong, but I'm thinking they got something like a 30-day grace period, that they're probably a little more lenient, but if it's been out of date 6 months or whatever, I'm pretty sure that they pulled the tag.
I just wanted taxes paid.
Me and you both. Any more questions? Okay. The next thing is if you notice on our first slide, we said we had to show that we've had provide a report of diligent efforts to collect unpaid taxes. That's what we're going to show you right here. The first one, wage garnishments. You see a big change. You said, well, Alan, you hadn't done as good as you did last year. Well, the big issue on that is the vehicles. You figure our average vehicle bill was probably $30 to $50. We had a lot of them. As you saw, we had 106,000 bills every year to collect. Those have basically gone away now. We still have old ones we're collecting, but that's why you see a big change in that. But you saw our collection rate was up. So the 7,691 we did, they were mainly on real estate and other personal property, which are usually larger bills. So even though our quantity went down in the wage garnishments, our money went up. So you'll actually see this decline a little more probably over the next couple of years as the vehicles sort of weed out of the system, all the delinquent vehicles go out. Our bank account levies, we were $591 this year versus $426 the previous year. Rent attachments, we have 6 versus 2. And rent attachments, what that is if you own for instance, an apartment complex or a strip shopping center and you fail to pay your taxes, we can go out and actually there's a statute that actually allows us to go and get your income that you get from your tenants. They're directed to pay us directly. So in other words, if you have an apartment, we go to the tenant, they're directed to pay that money to us directly. And it is a misdemeanor if they fail to follow through with that. So we have done some of those this year, had to do 6 of those. This is a big one. I need to explain. So first of all, we're not going into the real estate business by sending 162 properties over to our foreclosure attorney. These are parcels. These are owners. These are actually parcels. We had 2 owners that probably comprise about 60 of these parcels. So we had 2 people with about 30 parcels apiece roughly. I'm happy to say that one of those has worked diligently and caught most of theirs up. So just because it goes to the attorney does not mean that it's automatic foreclosure or sale. It means we've done everything we can do at our level. Once it goes across to the attorney, then they actually start a whole new process. This processing can take up to 6 months, a year sometimes, especially we have a lot of heir property where people are deceased. The heirs get the property, there was no will, so it's just sort of a free-for-all. Who are the heirs is number one. Who do we go after? We can't determine sometimes. So if it does go to the attorney, they have to go through the process of trying to notify all the heirs. They have to appoint guardian ad litem sometime for the ones they can't find. So it's a long drawn-out process. So this 162, I asked for some totals. I did not get those before I came up here this morning, but I will definitely send those to you. I would dare say probably maybe 24 actually went to sale during the past year, and the county may have ended up with probably, I would say, 6 to 8 of those properties. So once these go to the attorney, then there is another step. Once they do their research and stuff, people can come in and pay this property before it actually goes through the procedures of foreclosure. And a lot of times people do find means to do that. They couldn't help but do it with us, but once they get to a certain point, then the money is found. They either get a loan, whatever has to be done, and they get the family together and say, we need to pay this. So a lot of times the arrangements are made once they get to the attorney's office, but we have to report those as going to foreclosure to the attorney, not necessarily to foreclosure as a sale. So that's why you see this large number. We had a pretty big backlog too. We've changed some procedures in that aspect, and that's why you see a large number have actually been sent over there. We have an agreement right now, I think, that they have agreed to try to process about 10 per month. We'll be doing it in the upcoming year. We had a pretty big backlog. They were trying to work through. A lot of them were problems, like I mentioned, the heir property and stuff like that. That's what's included in this 162. So they are working through those very, very good. And again, our ultimate goal is not to own property. The county does not need a bunch of excess property. We're trying to get the taxes paid. And then sometimes this is our last resort. And again, once it gets over to the attorney, a lot of times arrangements are made. Thank you,
Mr. Dodd.
Once it goes to the attorney for foreclosure or collection, is there an additional fee that is assessed on that?
There is, yes, sir. So I think right now it's currently $750.
That's assessed on that particular. So in addition, at that point, they would owe the taxes, the interest, and the attorney fees.
And on top of that, there's actually filing costs, the clerk of court's costs. There's a lot of costs associated with that. So it could be up to $1,000 or sometimes more, depending. So unfortunately, that's added fees just to get through that process, and it could have been resolved before that. But a lot of times, that's the last resort that we have to.
You spoke that a number of these, of the 162, was two owners.
Two owners, probably
And
around
on each
60
one of those
parcels.
tracks, where they assess $750 on each one?
It depends on how they process it. It depends on how they put it to sale. Sometimes they do lump properties together
Okay.
for the sale and stuff. So it's not necessarily each parcel. It could be a group of parcels. It just depends on what, they try to group, like if it's actually going to sale, they try to put like properties together. If you have like 4 or 5 lots together, they try to lump those together for sale because it would make more sense to sell as a group sometimes versus individual. So it can vary.
But as a general, this 67 for 13, 14, around 60 to 70 properties is generally what you would have.
Like I said, we have a backlog in some cases, and we have agreed that they will try to do 10 a month, so you're looking about 120 a year annually.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, sir. And our last slide, this is our debt set-off collections. As you know, the tax office has the authority to attach any state tax refunds or lottery winnings that someone may have. I think it's over $600 in lottery winnings to pay any debts you owe the county. So we have done that this year. For 14-15, we collected from 2,462 debtors, and we received about $425,000. So that is a good tracking for us. Now, we did notice a little bit of decline in this. I think it has something to do with tax restructuring, and people did not get quite as much back this year as they did in the previous years, is what we were hearing on the state level. So, but it's still a good amount of money and it's a good tool that we have agreement with the state. The actual process is when they actually process refunds on that property.
Any more questions for Alan? If not, do we need to read that resolution or just pass?
So you can just pass it, can't you? Yes.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
A motion on the floor for Mr. Bell that we approve item number 1. Any other discussion? All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And now the second part of that was the order directing the tax collector to collect the taxes charged in the tax records and receipts. And so basically, you're telling me to start all over again, see what we can do this year. And we have sent our bills out. We have, once you do this, then we can actually start working on those taxes. And most of those are paid in the fall. Our mortgage companies tend to pay usually in November. So if you'll have any questions on as far as that order, or
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dart.
I move that we approve an order directing the tax collector to collect the taxes charged in the tax records and receipts. So moved.
I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Al. We've taken care of item number 3. Number 4, George and Tommy, y'all go at it.
Well, number 4, basically this is the borrowing the money to handle all of the equipment purchases that we've done. And you have the form of the authorizing resolution. Once you adopt that, you will have approved it. If you look on page 120, as I said at the 8 o'clock meeting, the low bid was Whitney Bank at 1.434%. The final maturity is 6/1/2020 because these are for 59 months. If you look on page 122, the amount that the par amount is $1,757,000. Of that, we'll pay out $15,600 for the cost of issuance and the bank fees, and then the net of that will be used to buy the equipment that we've been talking about. And we should close on this on August the 27th if you approve it today. So our recommendation is that you go with Whitney Bank, who was the bidder who had the lowest bid for us.
Mr. Kumar.
I would like for a motion in place that we approve this resolution and go with the bank.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion?
Yes. If I could, because I've had someone that was concerned in regards to our additional debt. And so I want to bring up the fact that, one, we're talking about an interest rate that is almost less than what the rate of inflation is.
That's right.
So I want the public to hear some reasons why I'm going to be voting for this, because it does add $1.7 million. However, in the alternative, we would be paying it as we go. But there are 47 car cameras with body cameras. There's 4 ambulances, a remount. Those ambulances, I think, have a overall cost on each one of those of $135,000 each. The cardiac monitors were totally outdated, and those were extremely expensive as well, as I recall. So it's a matter in which we would be paying for these over a 5-year period, and rather than doing it in that method, we're just purchasing them all now and financing them. And it's just a better way for us to upgrade these very needed services for our county. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that, that it did include, and the IT server virtualization, I think that was wasn't that
$740,000.
$740,000 just in that one area. So I think it's a great benefit that we go ahead and do this now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And also, I'd like to make a comment. We had quite a bit of discussion when we were working on the budget about the car cameras and the body cameras, and, you know, and we've assured everyone that we were in the process of taking care of it, and I think this shows that the board followed through on exactly what they had told the citizens that they would do.
That's right.
Yeah, I have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? If none, all in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Motion to approve fuel service contract at Wayne Executive Jetport. Tommy, I think you got that, please.
Thank you, Commissioners. As we mentioned in the 8 o'clock session, we did send out a request for proposals for a fuel services contract at the airport. That's the largest contract we have at the airport. We received 4 responses from four qualified companies. Actually, in reviewing those, we are recommending that the board enter in a 3-year agreement with Campbell Oil and Gas Company in Bladen County for fuel purchases, the lease of the fuel trucks and equipment, and the signage that they have agreed to provide. And also, in reviewing these proposals, you'll also note that their credit card processing fees are substantially less. And that's one area at the Jetport where we have a lot of experience in that area. The old saying in aviation is that planes like good fuel and pilots like cheap fuel. And I think we can accomplish both of that with this scenario. So that's for your consideration. We may have to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Tommy on,
Motion to approve.
have a motion on the floor to approve.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I just want to make sure that that motion includes, subject to the county attorney and manager's review and concurrence on the contract, because we did not have the contract yet, and board needs to review that.
Absolutely. Have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, number 6.
Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, I'm going to go through this fairly quickly because it's 11:45 already. I know y'all been sitting there a long time. But the reason that I put this in your packet is this, as I said at the 8 o'clock meeting, I sat through this session at the NACO conference in Charlotte, and I just thought this was a good primer or overview of the Medicaid program. So I thought we'd just go through that very quickly. If we'll go to slide 3, please, Marge. Counties do play a pivotal role, as this says, in America's low-income, in caring for America's low-income residents, often serving as a safety net for those who are unable to afford medical care. In the majority of states, counties are required by state law to provide health care for low-income, uninsured, or underinsured residents. And I just want to point out that on this chart, North Carolina is shown as no requirement. And if y'all remember, NCACC negotiated with the General Assembly back, I believe it was in 2009, to get counties out of the Medicaid business. And I just want to tell you that's probably the best bill that's ever come out of the legislature for counties, because Medicaid continues to grow at an 8 to 10% clip a year. What we gave up was one of the sales taxes that we had. I believe it was a half cent. We gave that back to the state in exchange for this, but that's why that shows there's no requirement in North Carolina. And remember, this is talking about it from a national perspective, so a lot of the comments here may or may not apply to North Carolina. But just a thing to stress here is that the Urban Institute estimates that states and localities spent about $20 billion on uncompensated care in 2013. Go ahead, Marcia. On number 5, all this is saying is, this is explaining why it's a problem for states across the country, is that all of us, our 38 states, impose a limitation on counties' property tax rates and assessments. And so for some, it really can hamper whether or not they can keep affording to do Medicaid. And again, we have the best of both worlds. We don't have that requirement. Secondly, the tax limitation in North Carolina is $1.50. You're at 66.5 cents, so we're not in any danger of bumping that. And I don't know where they got 150, because we'd all be out of office if we got close to that. Slide 6, just wanted to go over these. Counties do invest heavily in the health and well-being of local residents. $70 billion is invested by counties in community health and hospitals. $28 billion is contributed by local governments to non-federal share of Medicaid. 10 million additional individuals were enrolled in Medicaid during the Great Recession, and 21% increase in local government's Medicaid contributions during the recession. So I think you can see the impact of the Great Recession on this program. Now, what they have here is why Medicaid benefits local communities. It reduces the frequency of uncompensated care from local hospitals and healthcare centers. It creates increased access to healthcare services for low-income residents, which in turn improves residents' health, productivity, and quality of life. And it provides patient revenue that helps communities retain doctors and other health professionals. Medicaid in rural areas, as they say here, over 70% of the counties in America are rural, and Medicaid covers 21% of rural residents, compared with only 16% of those who reside in urban areas. Rural health clinics receive enhanced Medicaid reimbursements, and Medicaid payments account for more than 14% of rural hospitals' gross revenues. This is why associations like the North Carolina Hospital Association support trying to expand Medicaid because of that number right there, 14% improvement in their revenues. Nearly 1/3 of rural physicians receive at least 25% of patient revenues through Medicaid reimbursements. Now we'll get down to the basics of Medicare. I'm sorry, what?
Medicaid.
What did I say?
Medicare.
Excuse me, Medicaid. Excuse me. So Medicaid is a federal entitlement program established in 1965 that provides health and long-term care insurance to low-income families and individuals. It's a federal, state, local partnership in that the states administer the program with assistance from counties, and that's true in most places. It's not true in North Carolina. Although we do administer the program, we don't have to pay into the program. And the federal government has oversight. Medicaid's also jointly financed by federal, state, and local governments, including counties in many states. Medicaid is the largest source of health coverage in the U.S., covering 70 million individuals in fiscal year 13, or 1/5 of the population. So now we get into the difference between Medicaid and Medicare. Both are government-sponsored programs designed to help cover individuals' health care costs. Both were established by Congress in 1965 and are paid for by taxpayers. But this is where it gets different. Medicaid is administered by the states, and what the states then do is delegate a lot of that administration down to counties. That's why you'll see in our DSS budgets and our public health budgets and mental health budgets that there's a lot of Medicaid dollars going there. Medicare is administered solely by the federal government. Medicaid is jointly financed by the federal, state, and local governments. Medicare is financed solely by the federal government. Medicaid serves low-income individuals and families, including the disabled and elderly, whereas Medicare serves seniors and disabled individuals. Medicaid, in order to qualify, has income requirements. There are no income requirements on Medicare. So the next section is, how does Medicaid work? The federal government sets broad guidelines for it, including minimum eligibility and benefit requirements. States have flexibility within these guidelines to seek waivers, and North Carolina does have a waiver from the federal government on Medicaid. Some states subcontract Medicaid coverage to private insurers, while others pay health care providers directly. And they use different delivery systems. The traditional fee-for-service system reimburses providers for each service provided, while managed care systems involve set monthly payments. And if you remember at the Chamber of Commerce legislative breakfast, this is the core issue being discussed in the legislature right now. Right now, we have the traditional fee-for-service method in North Carolina. And what Senator Pate was talking about is a move to try to move to a managed care system, which involves monthly payments. So it's a per month, per member payment, which is very similar to how we now do mental health in North Carolina. Who does Medicaid serve? Thank you. Who does Medicaid serve? Traditionally, Medicaid has served three categories of low-income people: families, children, and pregnant women, the elderly, and the disabled. Now, under the Affordable Care Act, states can choose to expand Medicaid coverage to low-income adults without children. And the state Medicaid expansion decisions, as of June, you can see the light-colored states have not expanded. The others have, except for 2 or 3, and they're considering it. And there's 3 of them, Alaska, Utah, and Florida, that are considering it. Who does Medicaid serve? In 2011, nearly 2/3 of Medicare expenditures benefited disabled and elderly individuals, but they only made up 1/4 of the program's enrollees. So on the one side, you have expenditures, on the other, you have the percentage of enrollees. So as you can see, 24% of the enrollees are using 63% of the benefits. I'm not going to read through this next one, but that has what is mandatory Medicaid coverage. The next one is, these are optional Medicaid coverages which states can choose to provide to Medicaid enrollees. Now we get down to who funds Medicaid, and this is the second core issue which our legislature is dealing with. And that's who funds Medicaid. And as you can see, Medicaid is jointly funded by federal, state, and local governments, including counties in many states. The federal contribution rate varies, but it's based on the federal medical assistance percentage. The maximum amount contributed by each state is 50%. Poorer states contribute as little as 26%. But the federal share of Medicaid in fiscal year 2012 was 57%. States have various options for financing the non-federal share. In some states, counties contribute up to 60% of non-federal shares. You can see that's why in North Carolina we're very fortunate, because that burden has been lifted off of counties in North Carolina. So now we get to the county role. In fiscal year 12, counties financed the majority of $28 billion in local government contributions, but that's at a national level. We don't do that. Roughly 2/3 of these contributions flowed directly to states through intergovernmental transfers. Certified public expenditures, in which a local government certifies its Medicaid expenditures to the state, and the state claims the federal Medicaid matching funds accounted for the remainder of contributions. State mandated county contributions to Medicaid, and you'll see that it says at least 16 states require a contribution to Medicaid, and that seems to contradict what I just told you, that we don't do it. This is for a very small portion, just to cover administrative cost in North Carolina. So that's why we're in the dark blue, but we do not contribute the big amounts. I thought it would be interesting to note this other. Mandated county contributions are highest in New York by far. Counties in New York State send nearly $7 billion per year, or $140 million per week, to the state for Medicaid costs. That's why they have some of the highest property tax rates in the country. Counties deliver Medicaid services, eligible services, through these 4 areas: county-supported hospitals, county-owned and supported long-term care facilities, county behavioral health authorities, and that would be East Point, in North Carolina, the LME MCOs, and then county public health departments, 1,592. Medicaid delivery through county-supported hospitals. Medicaid covers inpatient and outpatient hospital services. Medicaid beneficiaries are served through 960 county-supported hospitals throughout the country. And of course, ours, we do not support the hospital, but we do we've turned over the facilities to them. Disproportionate share hospital payments compensate hospitals, including most county hospitals, that care for a disproportionate number of Medicaid beneficiaries and uninsured patients. And they're jointly funded by the federal and state governments. I'm not going to go through the next slide. We'll skip that. You can see what we do there. Medicaid delivery through county nursing homes. There are 692 of those. Behavioral and public health. Medicaid is the largest source of funding for mental health services in the U.S. and is playing an increasingly large role in reimbursement of substance abuse disorder services. Counties deliver mental health services to residents through 750 county behavioral health authorities across the country. And again, that's, in our case, that's East Point. And East Point's budget is over $302 million a year. And the overwhelming amount of that money comes from Medicaid. I think it's like $260 million of it. And then we have health departments throughout the U.S. provide Medicaid services also. I'm going to skip this about county innovations in Medicaid delivery. That's there for you to read about. And a lot of those depend on what kind of waivers those states have gotten. But there's 3 or 4 of those. What I want to focus in on is page 33. And what NACO is worried about is that Medicaid being a target for major long-term cuts in the federal budget. As they say here, in recent years, as lawmakers have looked for ways to decrease the federal budget deficit, Medicaid has repeatedly been targeted for deep funding cuts. And again, the reason for that is because the growth of it is, the rate of growth of Medicaid is far exceeding the rate of growth of the federal government's revenue streams. So Congress' non-binding tax and spending blueprint for fiscal year 2016 proposes $500 billion in cuts to Medicaid over the next decade. And I want to come back to that in a minute when we talk about expansion of Medicaid. The budget resolution also calls for converting Medicaid into a block grant program in which states would receive a fixed amount of federal funding each year, regardless of changing in program enrollment and mandates. So I want to come back to that, but I think you can see what the federal government is doing is they created the program in '65. It's grown beyond their ability to finance it. So now what they're doing is they're looking for ways to cap their participation, not to change the program, but to cap their participation, which means they're going to drive the cost down to the state governments. If these proposals are enacted, states will have to increase Medicaid spending to make up for federal cuts or reduce access to care for beneficiaries. And remember, the only way you can reduce access is to cut out the optional programs. There are certain components of Medicaid, and you saw them on that earlier slide, that are mandatory. Both options would shift costs to taxpayers and reduce counties' capacity to provide for the health and well-being of our residents. And then they get into why it's targeted. And basically, federal spending on health care programs is projected to continue its steady rise due to the aging of the population, rising health care costs, and an increase in ACA, and that's Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. Cuts to Medicaid, which is perceived to be less politically popular than Medicare, are often proposed to address these rising costs. Then they give you the people who head up those committees. But what I wanted to address is we've had conversations at different times during the last year and a half about whether the state should expand Medicaid. And I don't want to get into a philosophical debate on that because a lot of people's basic philosophy of what government should and shouldn't do is tied up in there. The thing I want to stress to you today is that I think the overriding concern of many in the legislature who have opposed this is what you saw in these pages, and that is that the federal government is looking to cut $500 million out of it this year. Those kind of things will continue. The more onerous one is where they want to cap it and say we will provide you X amount of dollars every year. Well, if that's growing at an inflation rate of 8% a year, that only takes about 8 or 9 years, and the state's participation is doubled. And so nobody has a revenue stream, federal, state, or local. Nobody has a revenue stream growing at the rate of growth that Medicaid is growing. And nobody has one that matches the growth rate for Medicare either. But we're just talking about Medicaid here. So you're going to see continued efforts by the federal government to cut this back. You're going to see continued efforts by state government to deal with that being forced down on them. So there are those who advocate for expanding the program because right now the federal government will pay 90% of the expansion, and the argument is it'll only cost you 10% to expand that, and that gives more services to more low-income folks. It also helps support the hospitals because they would be paid for those services instead of not being reimbursed. But the offsetting argument on that is that's what it is today. What will it be 3, 4, 5 years from now? And so I felt like I wanted to give you this overview because I thought it was one of the best overviews I've seen of the program, but I thought it would also frame the argument for you that's going on in our legislature now. It's a very big decision for them. It's probably one that will impact the state's budget more than anything else we look at. And that's why it's such a contentious issue. So the other thing we need to do is just keep our eye on any legislation coming out of Congress as to what they do in terms of cutting back Medicaid. Because if they cut it back, we will ultimately, what they send the states, whether it's in block grant form or otherwise, they'll cut that back. When they cut that back, we're where the services are provided and paid for. Then those services will be cut back. Reimbursements to doctors and hospitals will be cut back. Reimbursements to the county health department, DSS, and ultimately even to our transportation system, because Gateway, as Joe and Joe know, the biggest two users of that are the senior center and also DSS. And the bulk of DSS's transportation costs are Medicaid. So all of this has a trickle-down effect on us. And that's really all I wanted to do with those comments today.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Wood?
I'd just like to make a quick comment. You know, it's amazing how the states, not just North Carolina, complain about the federal government pushing stuff down on them.
Yeah.
But they don't hesitate to push stuff down on the counties,
That's right.
you know.
That's right.
That's kind of.
And you know, that's one of the basic problems we've got today is we've got more government than we're willing to pay for, to the tune of $500 billion, because that's what the federal budget deficit is every year. So at some point, as a society, we got to get back to living within our means.
For an example, if we think our jails are overcrowded, just wait till this new juvenile thing kick in,
That's right.
you know.
That's right. And then they'll close another prison.
Right.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, it's a little past 12 o'clock. Do y'all want to continue on with this meeting and come back? Or do you want to go to lunch? Or what? Just pleasure to board. We've got to come back anyhow, because we've got some evaluations we've got to do this afternoon. Pleasure to board. We can go to lunch and come back and finish this meeting and then do our evaluations, or
We're gonna do evaluation.
Might as well go eat.
Might as well go eat, huh? We gotta come back, we might as well go eat.
Let's go to
At
lunch.
least we'll have a full stomach as we're doing evaluations.
I don't miss that school to be.
I don't either.
Might be good for the employees.
I might be snoring.
Do I have a motion that we recess, go to lunch, and come back and finish this meeting, and then we'll take care of the other business?
Just recess.
Recess. Let's go to lunch. We are back in session. Thank everyone for your patience. I think we're down to the county manager's comments.
Okay, they'll be brief. I have three quick things. One is, met with Lois Mooring on Thursday. She asked to meet with me, and she has given her notice of retirement. And she said, "Dear Mr. Wood, I'm giving notice of my resignation as the Wayne County Register of Deeds. My resignation is given in conjunction with my plans to retire from full-time employment. My replacement will be decided by the Wayne County Board of Commissioners and the Wayne County Democratic Party pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 161-5, see attached. I cannot give an exact date for my departure. This will depend on how quickly someone else is appointed and sworn in. If my replacement wants me to continue working on a part-time basis during the transition, I would be glad to do so. This the 12th day of August, 2015. Now, Borden and I will talk with her because we actually need a defined date on that. But I talked with her at length. She's ready to retire and has done a very good job for us. She attached the statute. I've read it and gone over with Borden. Let me just read you the pertinent part. This, and again, if you want to read it yourself, it's 161-5, vacancy in office. A1, when a vacancy occurs from any cause in the office of Register of Deeds, the Board of County Commissioners shall fill such vacancy by the appointment of a successor for the unexpired term, who shall qualify and give bond as required by law. If the Register of Deeds was elected as the nominee of a political party, which he was, the Board of County Commissioners shall consult the County Executive Committee of that political party before filling the vacancy, and shall appoint the person recommended by that committee if the party makes a recommendation within 30 days of the occurrence of the vacancy. So that's the process you would use to fill this. So with y'all's permission, what I was going to do is write a letter. I have the name of the chairman of the Democratic Party, address and phone number. I thought I would write a letter and informing her of the situation, and Lois was going to talk to her as well, but telling her about the deadline and everything, and that we need for them to give us a nominee. So does anybody have a problem with me proceeding on with that? Okay.
You can't fill it until there's a vacancy, and until she says I'm quitting on this date, it's gone.
So
But if we have a recommendation, then we can kind of get that coordinated.
Right, and I'm going to go back and talk with her about that. The second thing, just wanted to reiterate to you, Kevin Johnson wanted to remind us to attend the Saturday part of the NCACC, because that's when we'll be getting that award that he put us in for. So, and it's to y'all as a body, so he'd like to have as many of y'all there as possible. Okay. And it's at 11:30 a.m. Saturday, August 22nd. Okay. Third thing is I wanted to talk with you about the Day Reporting Center. I have hired Jennifer Heath as the new director of the Day Reporting Center. She'll start on September the 1st. She is currently the court liaison. And so she's actually got experience in dealing with probation people going through the court system. She works every day with the judges who help make the decisions about who can go into this program and who can't. She's actually been involved in that process. But for those of you who don't know her, she retired from the state probation office. So she has a lot of years of supervisory experience. She has experience in this specific area, and I think she'll be a great addition to us. Now, our problem is the court liaison person is a 20-hour job, so now I got to go back and backfill that one. But wanted y'all to be aware that we have filled that slot, and I think she'll do a very good job for us. Again, her first day then will be September the 1st.
Did you say the court liaison position was a 19-hour?
19-hour
Yeah.
position, yeah. So anyway, that's where we're at on that. Okay, anybody got any questions on that? Okay, the last thing, and I have talked with y'all about this, but I gave you a little bit of an update at the last meeting, but not a thorough update. We found out that the vacant lots at Park East Industrial Park were being farmed. And one 11-acre tract was being farmed by one person, and we came to terms with him to pay us rent for this current year. And we informed him that we'll auction the property this fall for a 2-year term in order to match up with the 3-year terms we did on all our other farmable properties last fall. Y'all recall we did that around October, November of last year. In that way, all of the leases will expire at the same time and can be rebid together. The other 99 acres is being farmed by Mr. Royce Gray, who had been told, apparently by Mr. Gray, he says that he was told by Joanne Helms with the WCDA that he could farm it if he kept the ditches cut and the weeds down. We couldn't find anything in the files over there about it, but he's been doing it for several years, we think over a decade. At any rate, he agreed to pay us $125 per acre in rent for the current year, and then we told him we plan to auction it in the fall either for a 2 or 3 year term. Now, he has subsequently called me back and asked if y'all would extend the lease to him or let him go for another 2 years at $125. I told him that I would need to check that with you. My recommendation is that you not honor this request, and the reason is he's used this farmland to our knowledge in excess of a decade without any rent paid to the county. And while that's not his fault, at the same time, at $125 an acre, that's a value of $12,375 each year, which if you took it for 10 years is $123,750. So while it's true he's put some chemicals onto the land in the past year, this kind of free rent far exceeds what he's put in that. So again, my recommendation to you is that you not honor the request to go another 2 years, because that's really not fair to the other potential farmers who could bid on that property. And our intent, if you're in agreement, is to go forward with leasing all of this property sometime in October, November for 2 years. And then all of the leases would match up, and from there on out, they'd be 3-year leases. So that's my recommendation to you.
Do we need a motion to recommend?
We do.
Well, I make the motion that we accept your recommendation.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion?
Am I understanding you are going to put that out for bids?
Yes.
Okay.
And in talking with several people about it, in fact, we talked to Mr. Gray as well as the other farmer, and also talked to Tommy and some other people, and the consensus was we ought to just do it as one big area, because the guy's got to bring his equipment in there. Now, I would like to exclude one lot, and because remember, these are the lots in the Park East Industrial Park. We are trying to market one of those lots, the front one, for commercial, because we've had a number of automotive dealers try to move in that area, are moving into that area, and this would be the next lot from that. So with y'all's permission, we'll exclude that one lot.
You know how many acres is in here?
I want to say about 10, somewhere around 10 acres, something like that. It might be a little more than that.
I think it's a little more than that. I think it's around
I think it's
18.
Well, it might be. It might.
think it's
Yeah,
18.
it was that corner. It might be, but the rest of it we would lease out.
Do I need to amend my motion to?
If you don't mind to say
I
that
do.
we'll take that one lot out.
Any other, I have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Okay. And that's everything I've got.
I got, we had a letter, and I can't put my hand on mine. I had it right here. The letter from Southern Wayne Sanitary District on holding off on,
Yes, I got that. But I left, well, wait a minute. Yeah, what we got, this is from Jack Edwards, who's their attorney. And he wrote it to Wayne. I'm writing to inform the Wayne County Board of Commissioners of a vacancy on the board of Southern Wayne Sanitary District due to the death of board member William G. Harrell on July 20th, 2015. According to the provisions of North Carolina General Statute 138-54, any vacancy on the board is filled by the county commissioners until the next election of sanitary district board members. The sanitary district board discussed the vacancy at its regular meeting this past Monday. In the past, commissioners have asked the sanitary district board to recommend someone for consideration to fill the vacancy. There are currently 3 seats on the sanitary district board that will be involved in the November election. One of those was the seat of Bill Harrell. 5 individuals have filed for these 3 seats on the board. Bill Harrell did not file for re-election to the sanitary district board. In light of the pending election, the Southern Wayne Sanitary District Board did not believe it would be appropriate to recommend someone to fill the vacancy since 3 new board members will be elected in November and take office the 1st of December 2015. The district still has 4 board members, which is sufficient to carry on the district's business until the new board members are elected and take office. Please advise if the Sanitary District Board can furnish any additional information to assist in this matter. Sincerely yours, Jack Edwards, attorney. So I think what they're saying is there's so little time before the election takes place that they just want to go roughly 3 months without filling that vacancy. And because they have 5 people running, I guess they were uncomfortable giving somebody an advantage in there.
can we legally do that, Mr. Parker?
Yes, he called me and I told him to write you a call.
Okay, all right, okay. Is the rest of the board comfortable with that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a voting matter, but just, if y'all are comfortable with it. And also, you're probably gonna be getting another one from Mr. Edwards, because Southeastern lost a board member this week.
Okay.
So you'll probably be getting another one, and, and I don't know whether anybody has filed for a position on that board or not, but y'all work it out whenever
All
you.
right. Well, I'll write him back and say that the board has decided that it will forego an appointment given the pending election so near.
Okay.
All right.
All right. That's all
That's all I've got, yes, sir.
All right.
Commissioners' reports or comments. Mr. Bell?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I attended the juvenile justice along with Mr. Burns last Friday. And I didn't stay there for the whole meeting, so Mr. Burns, if you have anything to say about it, you can jump right in. But it was a very good meeting, and juvenile justice is doing a lot of good work for the youth of Wayne County. So they're not asking for any money as far as I know, and everything is funded by the state, so it's a good organization. And I have 2 requests to make that we don't have to act on today or don't even have to discuss today. You remember the meeting that we had over at the EMS a week or so ago? Some things came up, and I'm just thinking I, as a commissioner, did not know anything about it. I didn't even know what you was talking about, really. So I'm going to request at our retreat that we discuss this, and anytime anybody is assigned some type of duty, the rest of the board need to know what those duties are and what kind of authority they have, because one commissioner cannot speak for the board. And that's the impression that I got at that particular meeting. So, and the other thing that I would like for us to bring up at the retreat, and I'm really serious about this. I don't think a commissioner should be chairman of the committees that we sit on. You're supposed to be a liaison between that committee and the county commissioners. So you can't be in charge over there and then come back here and vote for whatever transpired. I don't know if any of us fit that mold or not, but we need to take a good look at that to make sure, in my opinion, that if we serve on these committees, we ought to act as a liaison so we can come back and communicate it with the rest of the commission, and then we can act on it. But if you're going to be in charge over there, you can't come back here and vote against whatever you decide to do at that particular meeting. That's my report for today.
Thank you. Mr. Payton.
Just real quick, we did have the Purple Heart back, and it was a complete success, I thought. We've learned from the years before. It went very smoothly, and Wayne Allen did a great job, and I want to thank Wayne for doing that. And Kim, thanks. Met with WCDA, we've already talked about that a lot today, so I want to go into that. So that's pretty much what we talked about over there, as we talked about today. So that's all I got.
Mr. Camardi.
Just one thing, the wages board that I serve on, that group is having their retreat today. Of course, I know that they may or may not know that we meet on this day, so that's beyond the point. But I wish them a lot of success on that particular. They're having their retreat, and of course, the 50th Golden Celebration of Service and Success. They're working on that. So this is the wages organization is very viable for the county, and they're doing some very important things. But I did have a meeting with them today, which is in conflict. My library meeting is tomorrow, so I'll be getting an update. I'm sorry, not tomorrow, Friday. I'll be getting an update on things relating to the library. And I'll hold any other comments that I may have had for another day.
Thank you. Mr. Gurley.
Couple things from the hospital board. The main focus at the hospital right now is developing and completion of the FY16 budget. Senior management is in the process of reviewing the line item details of the request. And secondly, representatives from the North Carolina DHS Division of Health Service Regulation will be conducting a public hearing regarding the requested certificate of need for the proposed operating room suite project. And this hearing is going to be conducted tomorrow at 10 o'clock at the Wayne County Library in the Gertrude Auditorium. And another bit of information I add to that, TA Loving Company was chosen from the board as our construction management partner for the suite project, and they're very experienced in this type of work as well as many other types. And congratulations to Jennifer Heath for the DRC director's job. Mr. Wood, great selection, and she'll do an excellent job for Wayne County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut mine a little bit here. I attended several meetings. One was the Works Steering Committee at Wayne Community College, which has to do with the Advanced Manufacturing Center. And just as a matter of information, there seems to be some confusion as to the cost of the renovations and so forth for the Advanced Manufacturing Center, what the real costs are versus what is recommended to put in the bond referendum for the governor. So at this meeting, I was really impressed with, there is a distinct distinction. What we're asking for and what's being asked for to put in the governor's plan has nothing to do with the actual cost of what this county is going to be incurred with. So there'll be more to come on that to make it more clear. The retreat for the commissioners has already been discussed. We had a Jetport advisory meeting, which I just attended, and there was a security update that was presented by Mel Powers. And one of the things about small airports, as far as terrorists and everything concerned, or should be of all of us concerned, we're all vulnerable. So I'm glad that we're taking a look at different areas of our county to look at the security in different areas. Board of Health, we had a meeting
The action items that the Board of Health passed were the Wayne County Health Department policy, clinic administration fees, which included the animal bite immunization fund. And we also, and I think that what Director Madden, David Madden has done at the Health Department on the integrated 4-week schedule could possibly be a pattern for possibly other departments to look at. He did a fantastic job in making this schedule to where it works. Actually, the Board of Health, because of this new work schedule, is going to be actually open 48 hours a week. So I think it will be a pattern that someone, maybe the other department heads may want to look at. Also attended a Wayne County Transportation meeting, and of course one of the keys there was the Comprehensive Transportation Plan update by James Upchurch, along with a lot of others. Also attended the NC East Alliance board meeting in Greenville, and just as a matter of a little information, fiscal year 2015-16, that's through 8/13/2015, NC East Alliance new company connections had made 303 connections, 111 leads out of that. New projects out of that was 67, and connections to North Carolina companies were 28. But here's where we always stand out in Wayne County. Dr. Steve Hill, who's the executive director for the Workforce STEM, Wayne County has always been in the forefront as far as our STEM program, and right now there are 60 STEM centers now funded in 12 eastern North Carolina counties. And of course, the awarded Onslow County Certified Work Ready Community for the state, we have been included Craven, Edgecombe, Lenore, Pitt, and Wayne. And 3 other NC East counties submitted applications for state certifications. So 2 counties originally receiving the NC East Work Ready Community status have now been approved as official North Carolina ready communities. Wayne and Lenore County are those 2. So just to keep in mind, and I said at this meeting that the best thing that's ever happened to industry in general and economic development in Wayne County was the STEM program: science, technology, engineering, and math. These kids cannot understand or know what is available in their career futures if they're never presented an opportunity to see those things. And the STEM program does that. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Jordan.
First of all, I want to commend this board for today unanimously agreeing to pass the incentive package. Incentive package is important in that WCDA needs to have specific guidelines to offer and discuss incentives with industry and any recruiting industry and jobs here. That was a big thing that we did today, and I applaud you for it. The other thing is, I do want to again urge you to take some action. The United States Senate has passed the amendment designating US 70 and 117 from I-795 down to I-40 as future interstates. So that amendment has been passed by the United States Senate. It now has to be passed by the United States House. So all of us need to contact our representatives and urge them, because they are supporting this very thing by a separate bill, but to ask them to pass an amendment to the transportation bill to include these 2 designations. That would be a major thing for us to finally have happen here in not only Wayne County, but eastern North Carolina, because interstates are vital for bringing in jobs and industry. I enjoyed the commissioner retreat in that it gave us all an opportunity to not only look at what we've accomplished so far this year, but also set out some goals for the coming 6 months. And I think it's good that we do that twice a year. I think that's a good idea. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Most of the meetings that I attended has already been mentioned. I think we accomplished a lot at the retreat. Also attended the Alliance WCDA meeting, and most of that has been discussed today. Did go to the transportation discussion out at Lane Tree. Thought that was very informative. Got some good feedback from the DOT, and I think we're moving forward on some road projects. Not going to be overnight, but I understand that they are doing some surveys and all down at the stoplight at Dudley to go ahead and move forward in a couple of years on getting that interchange fixed to interstate status. And that's basically, I've been busy last week and first of this week, but I want to thank the board for letting me have a little time off of vacation. I needed it. I was ready to leave for a few days, but I was glad to get back to Wayne County. You always want to get home. In fact, I cut my vacation short of about a day and a half to get back. I was ready to get back. But I do appreciate all that y'all do. You do so much that the average citizen do not realize that what all y'all do. This is a very active board, and I just want to, when I get the opportunity, I want to thank y'all for what you do, because all of you put in a lot of hard work that some of it I don't even know about. But that's my comments. We need to go back into closed session. Mr. Parker, if you give us
To consider the performance of individual public officers and employees.
Okay. And that's the only business we've got left to take care of.
Yes, sir.
So, Steve, I don't know how long we're gonna be in there, and when we come out, all we're gonna do is adjourn. So I'm just trying to be fair to you. I hate for you to sit here for 2 hours and then just come out and say we're through. I'm just trying to give you a heads up. If you want to sit in here, that's fine, but.
They gonna be in there 2 hours.
No, I hope it's not 2 hours.
They gonna be in there
2 hours, 5 minutes.
Do we need a motion to go in closed session, or just? Okay, so moved. Okay.
This has been a presentation by Wayne Goldsboro Television of the meeting of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. Wayne County Commissioners meet the first and third Tuesday of each month in the Commissioners' Meeting Room on the 4th floor of the Wayne County Courthouse at 224 East Walnut Street in Goldsboro, North Carolina. For more information, the County of Wayne is online at www.waynegov.com. The mailing address is Post Office Box 227, Goldsboro, North Carolina 27533. Thank you for watching.